Hello, hello, hello. Hello, 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 hello. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks, and
And my name is James Maynard, otherwise known as James the Bird Song, the
no,
Songbird,
that's
the
cute.
Songbird.
You're also a bird song. Okay, very good. So I think our voices are actually working, and of course I had trouble with the machine, but in the end it worked. So I'm really glad because tonight I want to talk to you about a very important topic, and it's called Seven Roots of Racism and Prejudice. And I really want to talk about this, but before I get to it, can you just introduce our show?
Yes, you have come to Granny Rocks, where we have the opportunity to share her wit, her wisdom, and her very uncommon sense. And I'd like to invite you to chat with us. I'll be handling the chat, and whatever you chat to us, I'll pass on to Beth, and she can chat with you live in person.
That's right. And if you aren't here live in person while I'm live in person, then you can always write to me later. Okay, so let's see. Oh, we
We already
have
have
people.
some hellos
All
here.
right.
Elizabeth says hello and sends love, and a big hi. Tracy says hello and sends caring. And Elizabeth says, you both sound great. Yay!
I
Thank you,
love that
Elizabeth.
for a change, right? We're actually working. I said, oh no, I don't think I could face another one. Another show where the sound isn't working. So, anyway, I want to start with, the idea that it's much easier to see the racism and the prejudice in other people than it is to see it in ourselves, of course, needless to say. So, but I want to look at the whole big picture. I don't want to just go, oh, it's so terrible, they're so terrible, this is so terrible, I really want to get a little bit deeper into it, and I want to get a little bit of light on to the topic, including us. So, first, I want to start with something that is underneath all of it, which is them and us. You know, there's us and then there's them. And us and them could be the neighbors. They could be, our family could be us and the neighbors could be them, or people of other races or other religions or other political perspectives, or just, the list goes on. There are so many thems and us. And you know what's Today, I actually read a little bit about the Great Replacement Conspiracy, which is that us, white people, are going to be replaced in a great conspiracy by them. So, I just want to put this in a little bit of perspective before I try to get into the roots of all of this. That for me, see, I grew up in a Jewish family, and us, which many people are associating with white Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not us to me. Us to me is Jewish people. And in fact, not just Jewish people, but Jewish people from Eastern Europe. That's us. Then there's the other them, which is the other Jewish people that are not from Eastern Europe.
And everybody else.
And everybody else. This is really the truth. We have had more oppression from white Christians than from anybody else. And yet, there's all these people who are saying, oh my God, look what they're doing to us. Well, so you see, it's all relative. It's very, very important to realize that it is very relative. And that there's always replacements going on, right? When the Europeans came to North America and South America, they were them. And us was the Native Americans. And us got replaced by the white people. And then the white people brought in black people to do their dirty work, right? Which is a long-standing thing. It's like, oh my God, we want them in the fields to get our food, but then we don't want them to have children. And we don't want them to live here. We just want them to grow our food. So now we have all kinds of, because of necessity, we bring in other people, and then they live, they exist. They take up neighborhoods. I mean, imagine that. So, anyway, I'm just putting, I hope, a little bit of humor and uh, realization that this thing about them and us and replacement is kind of silly, because people are always replacing people, and the truth is there's a lot more non-white people in the world than white people. So hey, if you want to go out there and do all of your own cleaning and digging and farming, and you want to get rid of all the black doctors and lawyers, I guess we could get rid of them. And then what have you got left? Well, you'd have a lot of us who don't want to do whatever it is that the other people are doing. Like, get rid of all the Philippine nurses. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this is just reality on the racial level. So where does this them us come from? It comes from ego. We have a friend.
Oh, look at here. Namaste. Hello. I'm from Kathmandu. Rabbi Shamling Rai.
It's not Rabbi. I think it's Robbie.
Oh, Robbie. Sorry.
Right, because I doubt that he is.
And he says, so amazing music.
Well, thank you. I haven't even started playing
well.
yet, but namaste, namaste.
And Jem is with us again, and he says, hello, Lady Beth and James. Baruch Hashem. Hashem. Thank you for your love.
Oh,
He sends
thank
a heart of
you.
love.
Thank you,
Same at you,
Jim.
Jim.
Blessed be God, whatever color he, she, or it is. And in fact, you can look at it even closer to home, where if you're a woman, them could be men.
Right.
Certainly if you're a man, women are them. You know how they are. So, I mean, it's so, it's just like, why don't we have a world of one? Then there wouldn't be any them at all. And then we'd have to do everything for ourselves.
All one human family, right?
Oh, yes, all being one human. That'll be it. But anyway, so I want to get to what is underneath this, other than just the fact that the ego separates all the time. I should do a show on the ego or 100. But anyway, I want to take a look at the roots of racism and prejudice itself as a phenomenon. And I believe it all starts with fear, a lack of self-love, and projection. So let's take a look at some of this. First of all, I said there are 7 roots. There's probably 10, 100, 3. Somebody can always disagree with me, but then because I'm them and they're us. So they're anyway. So the first thing, which is very common, fear of loss of some advantage. Oh, they're going to take away our, and then we won't have any more.
Here they come. Here they come.
Right. And it looks to me like it's some entitlement. Like, we're entitled to all the good houses. We're entitled to the good land.
The good jobs.
The good jobs. And the other people
good education.
That's right. They're entitled to whatever is left. The polluted stuff, the lead in the water, that kind of thing. That they deserve that. So anyway, so that seems to be a lot of what this whole white nationalism thing is about, is which, as I say, I don't think I fit. Oh my God! They're gonna get rid of me. Anyway, it's a fear of the loss of some advantage. Let's say you go into extremes, like into the plantation system. Usually the plantation owner was white and the slaves were black. That seems to have been a pattern. Have we noticed that? Of course, they were being imported in the slave trade by people who were making tons of money on that. So who was living in the good house? All right, so now there is a fear like, oh my goodness, if they start getting their rights, or they start getting uppity, or there's more of them, they're going to take the plantation away. I might have to live in the slave quarters. I don't want that. Well, I don't blame you. I don't want to live in it either. The thing is, if it's not good enough for me, it's not good enough for them. Is it? But hey, as long as we, whoever we is, has the power in a given situation, then oh well, right? And it could be the caste system, right? It could be, it doesn't always have to do with race, although it often has to do with color. It could be your caste, your gender, lots of things that would give justification for me to get a bigger piece of the pie. And I don't want to give it up. So that is, people get scared. Fear, fear, fear. I'm going to lose some advantage. Now, this is also cool. Let's say you've had a nation where you have had systematic exploitation of a certain group of people. Supposing those people rise up, are you afraid?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So now it's fear number 2. Fear of the revenge of those over whom we've had an advantage. Now, we could put it the other way. We could say, okay, we're afraid of rural people who may not have had as much power as urban people. Now, there have been people who, of a conservative bent, who were not represented as much in the media or in Hollywood or whatever it is, and they're angry about that. So they're taken over. So suddenly the great replacement conspiracy is that the liberals and the progressives are being replaced by the conservatives and the right-wingers. Well, we don't like that, do we? They're getting their revenge, aren't they? Oh, yeah, they're getting their revenge. So, yes, if I have people living right outside the perimeter of my mansion, I could easily be afraid that the people outside the perimeter of my mansion are not going to like not going to like me. They might even come rob me or kill me in the middle of the night. I don't like that, do I?
No, you don't.
Okay, but there is a fear. And so I have to blame them. Like somehow there's something wrong with them, that they're angry at me, that I have what they don't. You know, like, oh yeah, of course, it's obviously something genetic in them, that they're just violent people, you know. It's the same thing with different species. I mean, when the mountain lions, the cougar as they call them, are being pushed out, they might want to replace us. And we all know this is true. Come on, don't we? So we have to kill them because they're going to get us. Because we have a right.
Or they're going to get our smaller animals.
Right. Oh, that too. Because we have a right. We're entitled. See, so we're afraid of loss of some advantage, and we're afraid of the revenge of those over whom we have had an advantage. Now, if all of a sudden the coyotes got bazookas, isn't that those guns or something, some kind of bazookas? Or
Yeah, big guns.
Big guns. There might be a change in the balance of power. We wouldn't like that, would we? We would be out of the coyotes would be in our living rooms, and we would be out howling at the moon. So anyway, here's a third thing. The fear of loss of something familiar based on the mistaken assumption that we know that this is just the way it's supposed to be. Now this is much more subtle, but really equally deadly. I know that the movies, that Hollywood is supposed to have a liberal bias. I don't like it when I see something that isn't in agreement with my bias. Or you may believe that the industry should be promoting a Christian agenda. I'm mean, isn't that just the way life is supposed to be?
Isn't America a Christian country?
Ain't it? No, actually, it isn't. It's kind of whether you like it or not. It's all kinds of people. But hey, that's so. My point is that we live. If you live in a small town, and it's all dominated by Norwegians, right?
That's my family background.
That's right. James lived in
Fargo, North Dakota.
North Dakota. And then suddenly he comes to a place where there's Mexicans, Jews, blacks, Muslims, Somalians, Armenians. God knows what those dirty people are doing. And suddenly the world isn't familiar anymore. I don't know how to navigate it. I don't know the rules. The judge in town is not a member of my family. You know what I mean? It's not a friend of a friend of a friend, or a friend of my parents, or that kind of thing. So we are familiar, and we grow up in a certain environment. It seems very familiar to us. And this is the way life is supposed to be. You're supposed to believe in this. You're supposed to behave like this. And that's the way it is. So now you come into culture clash with the bigger world. Then what? You're going to be racist, prejudiced, most people. They don't like it. It makes them uncomfortable. Me too. There's a lot of things that people believe and say in the way they behave that I find absolutely horrible and horrifying. Not just white Christians, but
white nationalists.
Well, it's not just that. Do not approve of female mutilation. You know, that you see in a lot of Africa, Middle East, and so on. You say, I don't like that. That doesn't feel right to me. I didn't grow up with it. I don't believe in it. So James and I had a very interesting brouhaha not that long ago over the fact that he felt uncomfortable because we were going to be have a Jewish guy over who wanted to put out his own agenda for a Jewish holiday, and James said, I don't want that. That's foreign. That's strange. I didn't agree to that. I said, I grew up in a Christian environment. I didn't agree to that. I didn't agree to have Christmas trees everywhere. I didn't agree to talk about Santa Claus. I didn't agree to hear Christmas music all the time. I didn't agree to that. No, wait, see? So what I mean, it's whatever is familiar to you. You have a tendency to believe that this is the way life is. Unfortunately, very few people use any kind of thinking process whatsoever. People tend to just go along with what they've been taught. Certain beliefs, certain ethics are right. This is right. This is wrong. This is wrong. This is right. Sin. I don't believe in sin. What is this sin? Everybody is sinful. Everybody's sexual feelings are sinful. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. It's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm uncomfortable with that. But if you grew up in that, that's what you're comfortable with. And so people who have other ideas that make you uncomfortable. So we have fear of loss of something familiar. And then we have racist or prejudiced reactions. Now here's the fourth one. Fear based on what we've been taught. Oh, no, wait. I forgot. Fear based on our experience, even if it's limited. Well, I used to have a Greek neighbor, and they played loud music all the time, and they used to pee in the backyard. So I don't want any Greeks on the block. My experience? Hey, this is my experience. Obviously, I have met every Greek person. I know how every Greek person behaves. I know what their family dynamics are, and I know why they're peeing in the backyard. No, I don't know. Obviously, I'm making that up, right? Because I'm trying to give a ludicrous example, but it isn't so ludicrous because I've heard stuff just like that about different minorities. Yes, that they're this, that they're that, they're dirty, they're lazy, this. Jews are hardworking but greedy. Mexicans are lazy. Yeah, but try to get someone else to clean your house and see how lazy Guatemalans and Mexicans. Yeah, do you see what I'm saying? So we may have an experience, and then we say, well, that's the way they are. So maybe we're just being nasty, or maybe we really did have a bad experience. But we can't judge people by our experience. It's too narrow. But now I get to the one that I started with that I shouldn't have said then, which is fear based on what we've been taught by those who themselves either have their own motives to teach us their fear. Maybe they're afraid of the loss of advantage, or maybe they've had a bad experience. So people flock together to support one another's ideas, right? Because you're normalizing it. So it's perfectly normal to hate, fear other people of different races, religions, etc. So we get it from our parents. We get it from our schools. We get it from our environment. We get it from our churches and religious institutions. We get it from the world at large. We're taught to fear things. And who is controlling that conversation? I would bet you anything that it's being controlled by people who are afraid of losing their advantages, people who are afraid of losing power. It's, to me, like, let's get honest. We know damn well that white people have had advantage over black people in the nation. I mean, it's so obvious. And then, all these voting rights things is try to stop black people from voting. It's like, okay, I don't care if you're a black Republican or you're not a black Republican, but the truth is pretty obvious that it's been very difficult for certain groups of people to vote. Well, these people want to keep their power. I remember distinctly what it looked like not so long ago when the U.S. Congress was like white men, white men, white men, white men, white men. Now some white women acting like white men started coming in, and then some white women who didn't act like white men, and then other women started, so there's been some change. But see, people will hang on to power. Everybody does this. We want to hang on to the advantages that we have wanted, grown accustomed to, right? That we rely on. Because I want my children to get the same advantages that I had. I don't want those advantages to go to the children of other people. No, sir. Or these other people that are controlling our minds and our societies, they have their own experiences. Maybe they have their own fears of revenge. We have
another comment here. Nancy says, great topic. Love all your insight.
Oh, thank you, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. That means so much to me because I'm thinking, oh God, there are people out there who really aren't going to like this show. And so thank you. Thank you for the encouragement. Okay. So now I want to get to something that sounds different from the rest, just to shake things up. Another serious, deep root of racism and prejudice is the lack of self-love. How could that be? It sounds like it's a lack of love of our neighbors. Well, I'll tell you how it could be. Because we need to feel better than someone else. And why do we need to feel better than somebody else?
Lack of self-love.
Lack of self-love. Got it? And when that feeling better than someone else is being fed by a collective belief and a contempt for others that is fostered by those beliefs, we are in trouble. And I am sorry to say that religions have been extremely guilty in this respect. It's not enough to say, I love my religion. A lot of religions will say the others are wrong. And I know because my religious scriptures tell me that we're better. Hello? Excuse me? Did you grok that? My own religious scriptures are telling me that I'm better because they're my religious scriptures. What about the scriptures of the other people? What do they say? They may not say the same thing. Or you may have religions that don't even have books. So, anyway, the lack of self-love, it can only be healed by loving ourselves, not by feeling contempt, hatred, fear of others. It'll never work, guys. And I'm going to tell you one more. And it really relates to that one. Projection of our own self-hatred. And what do I mean by that? There are aspects of us that we have been taught to disown. Oh, that's not me. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's like, I'm not trying to pick on Christians, but here's a perfect example. I could say the rabbi who's molesting the woman, and I know that this happens. Or the minister who's molesting women. Probably in Islam, the same kind of thing happens. I just don't have personal experience with this, so I can't speak of that. But why is this happening, and why would they project that sin on another race? Well, of course, because it couldn't be me. I couldn't be doing that. It's not me. I'm not really doing that. I'm really elevating this woman. You know, I'm the priest and I'm giving her priestly counsel, which happens to also include me rubbing my penis against her. But that's part of my, giving her comfort. And we can't face those parts of ourselves. We have been taught to dislike human things. I have sexual feelings. I have sexual feelings towards trees, towards children. I tried to keep a lid on that in terms of my behavior. I am greedy. I am selfish. I am this, I am that, I am the other thing. I am all those things, right? I can't tolerate that. That's bad. So I project that on other people. They are like that. They're like that. They're like that. And that is a fact. I did a workshop once, many, many years ago, where a woman was talking about how she didn't like Mexicans. And why? Because they have children that they don't take care of. Turns out this woman had an unwanted pregnancy and didn't take care of her child. And she hated Mexicans. So she projected all of that on them. So what are we going to do? So I suggest that we start by accepting ourselves as we really are. And let's start with a little self-honesty, guys. Let's stop projecting all kinds of negativity on one another. I am also prejudiced. I am prejudiced, I am greedy, I am selfish, I am scared, I am intolerant, I'm critical, I'm judgmental, I am all of that. I am. I have enough to do to deal with mine before I'm busy criticizing you for yours. And to start also by being extremely honest about what my prejudices are and where those prejudices come from. I'm just going to review these really fast for you. Fear of loss of some advantage. Who doesn't have that? Oh, a new CEO has taken over the company. Is my job at risk? am I going to lose? Oh, that CEO, the first one, really liked me. Immediately, I'm looking at that new CEO with like fear, right? Fear of loss of some advantage, especially something that I have convinced myself I'm entitled to. He might bring in his own people. Oh my God, how terrible. Second, fear of the revenge of those over whom we have had an advantage. Like, oh God, there's going to be a rebellion and they're going to get me. Like the Russian Revolution, right? The French Revolution against the aristocrats, guillotining the aristocrats. 3, fear of loss of something familiar, based on the mistaken assumption that what we know is just the way it's supposed to be. Like, oh yeah, I grew up that way, so isn't that the way it is, should be? Fear based on our experience, even if it's limited, and that we just kind of like go from there and extrapolate from that. It's like, oh, they're all this way. Fear based on what we've been taught by other people who have their own motives to teach us fear. Well, one thing, a motive that I didn't mention is keep us divided. Divide and conquer, right? You got a lot of people, get them divided against each other, and we just sail through, and blame the Jews, and everything will be fine. And that they might have other motives. They may be just have had bad experiences, or what they're interpreting as bad experiences. Maybe they're just challenging experiences. A lot of fear of loss of advantage keeps coming up. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in my list of 7 is a lack of self-love and the need to feel superior to other people. And sometimes that is a collective contempt that is fostered by beliefs in our society, social beliefs, religious beliefs, the Phi Beta Wobbies, the sororities versus the fraternities, and the beliefs that we're better, we're superior. Or people who are intellectuals are superior to people who are jocks, or jocks are superior to people who are janitors, and so on. And last but not least, a projection of our own self-hatred. So let's start looking at ourselves, loving ourselves for who we are. Let's start looking honestly at our own prejudices and racism. And let's start to look at the people who horrify us with their racism and prejudices and think, I understand what's going on there. And if we start to understand, we might be able to talk. Because if we only condemn, then all we're doing is more them and us. So enough of that. I've got to close. So it's been my pleasure to be with you today. I'm so glad that the sound worked. Please like and love this show. Please come back next week, next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. And make your comments, and I'll write back to you afterwards. And please share this program. I think a lot of people need to take a look at this on every side of this political spectrum in our violently polarized world. We can start looking at what we have in common, which is our humanity and kind of our insanity.
Right. Well, there you have it.
And don't forget tomorrow night, Beth Green's Magical Piano Improvisations. I'll be playing the piano for you, all music. Thank you. Love you.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye for now.